Shrapnel. So you've been hearing all about this game online through X and YouTube. What is it all about? Well, it's a first-person shooter game very similar to the ones that we know and love, like Call of Duty, Valorant, Counter-Strike, Apex Legends, and the list goes on and on. So it's within that genre of FPS games that are really fast-paced action, a really immersive gameplay experience, and a very competitive multiplayer mode. With so many Web 2 FPS games like Call of Duty, like Counter-Strike, you ask yourself, why are these guys even bothering to make another FPS game? Well, if you take a look at the gaming sector, there's over 3.3 billion gamers in the world right now as of 2023, so arguably that is the biggest utility on the onboarding of Web 2 users onto Web 3. Beyond that, if you take a look at the revenue from games, it's 184 billion, right? That's a lot of money. And if you look at games like Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, the amount of money and the amount of users that these guys are bringing in are insane. It's nuts. I know everybody talks about DeFi and other aspects of NFTs and Web3, but actually I do think that the gaming sector will be the biggest sector to be able to onboard the greatest mass of people onto crypto. So as usual, none of this is investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor, so please don't take this as financial advice. The crypto market is extremely volatile, so I want you guys to do your own due diligence and research before you get into any project. So you may ask right away, what's the difference between Shrapnel versus a traditional FPS game like Call of Duty or Valorant? Well, the big difference here is that Shrapnel is actually built on the blockchain. So it's built on the AVAX blockchain or Avalanche blockchain. What that means is that players are able to own what they create, they can trade it, and then everything that is player created content actually belongs to you. So all of your skins within the games, the weapons within the games, the characters within the game. So that's the huge difference of what Shrapnel is doing for the player-based market. So for those of you who are new to Web3 gaming or blockchain gaming, you may ask, why does this even matter? Well, if you take a look at the traditional Web2 FPS games, you can see that people spend tons of money, not just in gaming in general, but also on the skins that they buy within the game. So in-game purchases. And if you think it doesn't really matter, take a look at this example right over here. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull up this right over here. So a rare skin for an AK-47 in Counter-Strike was actually sold for $400,000, okay? This was part of a package where the private collector actually purchased the skin for $400,000, and as a part of the transaction they also purchased this knife as well, worth about $100,000. So here we're talking about an actual in-game purchase that was for $500,000 US for a Counter-Strike rare skin AK-47 along with the knife as well. Okay, so you can see that these transactions are worth a lot, and there are millions of people buying skins for all different types of purposes. If you look at Fortnite, you look at any other game, there are tons of people buying skins for these games. Now, what happens when you don't own that skin? So this is where sort of the problem comes into play, because a major gaming corporation can just shut you right down. And if you think it doesn't happen, let's take a look at this recent example right here by Call of Duty. So for those of you who play Call of Duty, you'll remember that when Warzone 2 was released, everybody had a burning question. They were wondering whether their skins and in-game assets would progress and carry over to Warzone 2. And the answer was no. So Activision actually confirmed this. At that time, they said that you will not be able to transfer all of your cosmetics or progression over to the upcoming sequel of Warzone 2. So you can see that torched millions of dollars among millions of players out the window. So all of your in-game assets, all of your skins, all out the window. So I think that this is where the real competitive advantage of a game like Shrapnel comes into play. It's already got a huge user base, a huge fan base who actually plays FPS game, but the biggest difference when people find out that they can actually own their own in-game digital assets and they can trade it, sell it back to the market, it's going to take the game to another level. If we just check out some of the gameplay footage right over here, you can see that it is a classic FPS or first-person shooter game. You get that feel, that immersive gameplay. There's a lot of action jam-packed in here, and the graphics look incredible. If you take a look at the skins side by side between something from Counter-Strike versus the skins from here, looking at the weapons alone, you could see that they blow it out of the ballpark. I think that the team has done an incredible job in terms of the graphics, the gameplay mechanics, the style of the game. Being able to design your very own map packs on here is a great leap from what we know and our experience in Web2 gaming. Okay, so I'm just going to recap really quickly the gameplay right over here. So the story starts out with a major asteroid, a Sigma asteroid, colliding with the moon, and then it creates this huge zone right over here, and the zone is designated as the sacrifice zone, but we're just going to call that the zone. So basically in the zone, it's too big for anybody to govern. And then that shrapnel, the fragments from the asteroid, it's rich in a bunch of elements like iridium, platinum. So it was discovered. So what happens is a bunch of mercenary goes in, they have to extract this wealth and they kill anybody who's in their way. So in this game, there's a lot of MEF, which stands for Mercenary Extraction Forces, where they're totally dedicated towards extracting this. And then the game takes place in 2040, where they basically say that the material from the shrapnel has been refined to this compound sigma, and then everybody is basically battling over this compound sigma. And that's where they send in a bunch of these MEFs, so these mercenary extraction forces, and now the fight continues. And then this is where the blockchain element comes into it. Well, you can certainly play the game, you can go through the battles, you can collect your loot, but what's different about Shrapnel is that players have the access to a set of creation tools, so they can actually build out the game. So they can create their own items, their own skins, their own weapons, and they can actually contribute to building map packs. Now, we've never seen this within the traditional FPS games, okay? And then you could sell this to other players. So there's going to be a marketplace so that you can sell it back. So you can see the value of blockchain gaming because it allows the players to also become creators. They can actually create the entire game and they can sell it back within the marketplace once they're done playing the game, so that you don't lose thousands of hours playing the game, collecting all these skins and items and weapons, and then poof, within a second, large gaming corporation says it's over and it's gone. So this is the significant advantage. So I think this is really cool about Shrapnel that's very different from any of the FPS games that I've ever played, is that you can create your own skins, your own weapons, and then you can sell them within the marketplace, so you have total ownership over the digital assets that you're actually holding on to. And then the final thing that I thought really stood out about it is that they're actually letting you contribute, so the players can actually contribute and build their own maps using the Shrapnel base assets that they're providing for you already. Okay, so this is a significant difference, whereas in Call of Duty and other games like that, other FPS genre games, you're not allowed to do that. So even me being able to build up my own map, it allows for a lot of creativity, a lot of imagination, and I think that you're going to see an explosion of player-generated content or player-user-generated content that's going to come out onto the game. So onto the team. In order to deliver a AAA game, you need a team that's decked out with experience. If you take a look at this team, they're not short of it at all. You have people from the gaming industry and also blockchain industry as well. Their experience is really wide and diverse, from people being on games like Call of Duty, Halo. You have people who have participated in Star Wars, and people who have been on EA Sports, PlayStation, you name it, they've been there. Okay, right now you could already see that the Shrapnel operators, you remember those MEF, so the different classes? Right over here, they're already being sold on OpenSea right now, okay? So you could see that this one is being sold for 0.18 ETH, right? The last sale was 0.16, okay? So if we check the activity right over here, we can take a look at the activity tab. You can see that there is already a bunch of sales. So this happened 4 hours ago, okay? And this one roughly went for 0.18 ETH. So last sale was 0.16, sorry about that. It's $346. You can see that there is plenty of trading activity, even though they recently launched. Okay, so people are already trading these. The game's not live yet, but people have already been trading these right over here. So the team's already raised quite a bit of money for this project. So it's 20 million in terms of Series A funding, which is led by Polychain Capital. You have both traditional Web 2 and Web 3 investors and partners. So let's talk about the tokenomics, the SHRAP token, and how it powers the entire Shrapnel economy. So I'm just going to jump right over here. You can see that they talk about how the Shrapnel economy is powered by the SHRAP token. Okay, at the heart of this, it's all about providing utility and medium of exchanges on the Shrapnel platform. So if you go down to here, you can see that they talk about the SHRAP as being an ERC20 token that's created on the Avalanche C chain, okay? And there's only 3 billion of these. So there's only 3 billion that's ever generated during the TGE token generation event on April 29th of 2023. So just earlier this year. So what do you use it for? Well, you could use it in order to publish your player created content. So if you're making something with it, you're using the SHRAP token in order to publish this, okay, in order to mint this. So that's the SHRAP token. It's also used as a governance and promotion, governance, deciding on the direction of the game, voting as a part of the DAO. And then all the holders of the SHRAP can also use it to promote certain maps and certain items as well, as a way for them to promote content that's much more easy to be discovered, okay? So that's another use of the SHRAP token. And then of course it's used as a gas token and a medium of exchange. So you can use it as, you know, the SHRAP token can be used as a medium of exchange in the Shrapnel marketplace. So to be able to buy, sell things, you're going to use the SHRAP token. So you could see that by doing this, they are putting value to the SHRAP token because it's not only a governance token, but it's a utility token. And it's also the token that allows everybody to create their own skins and in-game items. So you could see that there's going to be a big use for the SHRAP token. Okay, so if we look at how the tokens are distributed, it's basically 1/3 to community rewards, so 33%, about 27% to the team and advisors. So this has a locking period. I'll show you the unlocking schedule within a second. The seed token, so people who seeded the projects, is 20%, strategic token holders 7%, 1.5% to the public distribution, so public sales, and then market making and liquidity. This is likely the liquidity pool providers, 3%, and then 8.5% to the ecosystem funds. So if we take a look at the schedule right over here, so the team and advisors, they have a 12-month cliff plus a linear unlock of 48 months. So if you add them all up, it's 60 months or 5 years. For the seed token holders, you recall that they have a 12-month cliff plus a 12-month linear unlocking. So that makes them a 2-year hold, okay? Strategic token holders have a 12-month plus a linear unlock of 24 or 36 months, 3 years. So these people are holding at 2, 3 years, and 5 years. The public distribution, there is no locking period. The market making and liquidity providers, there is no locking period. And then of course the ecosystem fund right over here, there's about a 42 months from the token generation event in April until they're done with their unlocking. And then they talk about specifics of the ecosystem fund, how they're going to unlock those tokens, and finally community rewards right over here. It has a fixed emission schedule relative to the coming features, okay? So those will be determined a little bit later on, but this is the sort of unlocking schedule and the vesting schedule for those who hold the SHRAP token. And if we take a look at the graphical representation of that, that's basically from here at the TGE to 60 months. You can see that the unlocking period is over time. Okay, so this says pretty much the same information as what I just talked about, but in a better, more easy to understand graphical representation. Okay, cool. So we just took a look at the SHRAP token and how it's distributed and the unlocking schedule over time and how it's divided. But is it really a token that's worth considering within your portfolio? Well, with the vast amounts of Web3 games that are coming out, you just keep on getting bombarded project after project. But what I really look for is, number one, does it already have a huge player base that's ready to play it? And yes, it does, because the FPS genre right now, a lot of first-person shooter games out there are extremely popular. They have millions of users on their platform and users who want to play this game. And now when you add the element of blockchain gaming in terms of being able to own your own skins, your own in-game assets, I think that adds a layer up and it's going to get people excited about. So if we jump right over here and we take a look on CoinMarketCap right over here, so it's now trading at 18 cents. So the token is trading at about 43 million. Now for blockchain gaming projects, in general, for any type of Web3 projects, you're talking about many types of different tokens. This is actually still trading at its infancy. Yes, there are games where market cap is significantly lower. I'm talking about like the dumpster below 10 million type of market cap or the extremely high risk market cap. Right now it has pumped because a bunch of other YouTubers have been talking about it and a bunch of other influencers like Alex Becker has been talking about it. But I really wanted to take a look at the game for myself. So it does look very good. So if we do have a pump, which I suspect that we will, because with the Bitcoin halving coming, all the ETFs that are coming, and the narrative for this cycle is Web3 Web3 gaming right now. That's the hot narrative. It may, rotate into DeFi and launch pads and everything else, but right now the hot topic of the day is Web3 gaming. If we do get a strong pump and we go into a bull market, in my opinion, it's going to destroy this. Right now, it's up quite a bit within the month because a lot of people are talking about it. So if you are considering it, I would wait for a pullback on this, okay? But it's definitely a game to watch. So right now the game has already 2x basically from its low right over here earlier. But if we do go into a bull run, into a crypto bull run, and you have a gaming bull run, what you're going to see is an easy 10x from this. So full disclosure, I don't have any investments into Shrapnel. I'm looking at the project. I think it's a really fun game, and I think it's an exciting project. And as you know, with crypto, once you go into a bull run cycle, people are buying them at exuberant prices, whereas this has real utility. It's a game within a very good genre, so I do think that this project has a pretty good chance for it to run. So my initial thoughts of Shrapnel is that it's a very well-positioned Web3 game within this gaming bull cycle run. If we do have a bull cycle coming up, you can guarantee that this is one of the games that's likely going to take off because number one, it looks really good. It's in the right genre. It's got millions of players that are already used to this type of gaming. And now by adding in that extra utility of being able to own all of your own in-game assets, I think players are going to see the real value of a game like Shrapnel.